So we're going to pick this up where we left off. So previously we went ahead and we got our feet and our wheels on. So we're in a situation where our lift will now do this. So the next thing we're getting ready to do now is install our bag. So the bag showed up in the mail today. This is it. Hopefully the camera is focused right here. So here's our Firestone W0135869010. Opens to a total height of 10¼ inches or 200 and I can't remember, 60 some odd millimeters. I can't remember exactly what it was in the diagram. I put it up in the last video. So you get 2 mounting holes in the bottom that will drill holes in the bottom plate, or this is the top, sorry. So we've got 2 holes in the bottom. We'll get some threaded rods so we can bolt this onto the bottom plate here. Same for the top, 2 holes, drill holes, and then here is where our NPT 1/4 inch fitting goes. So essentially this will sit in our lift like so. So you can clearly see that this is slowly dropping. The plug is still in the bag, where the 1/4 inch NPT fitting goes in. So that's going to keep it inflated so not for the time being. But before I can consider installing this bag, I need to go around and finalize all my welds because everything is still only tacked together. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that bag back out, disassemble this. We'll finalize all our welds, we'll put it back together, and then we'll start looking at how we're going to mount the bag up. During the process of disassembly, a couple of my tacks popped apart. It shouldn't be a big deal, so just line them back up and weld it back in place. So, first things first, I'm going to weld up the 2 leg sets. So this one here, this one here. Then we're going to go ahead and focus on getting our plates welded up. Now I'm not going to weld these fully, like steady beads all the way across here, on top and bottom. I'm just going to do stitch welds of a couple inches long every couple inches on both top and bottom. And I'm also going to, just to make sure this is sturdy across here, I've got a piece of larger Schedule 40. It's going to go in here, and same thing along on this side to shore up this end of our plates. So we got a small bit of cutting to do and a bunch of welding. So I've got my windows open, bottom of my garage door open, the main man door open, the other window open, so lots of fresh air moving through because of all the welding. And so now I've got my 2 sets of legs, roll it up and good to go. Did a decent job. Like I said before, I'm not a welder, I'm more of a grinder, but I'm sure this will hold. Also got our bearing posts welded in. Not too bad a job there, I guess. So now the next thing we're going to look at is the plates. As I'd mentioned earlier, what I want to do on these plates, I want to do stitch welds. So I've got stitch welds here about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go, 1.5 inch, 2-inch stitch weld, 2-inch gap, 2-inch stitch weld, 2-inch gap on the bottoms. We're going to do the same thing along the top, but I'll try to alternate them, and I'll see where the other ones are, because you'll see the heat where it came through the plate. Weld up all the way around our posts here. On the insides here, it should be sufficient. And then finally, we'll cut 2 18-inch pieces of this Schedule 40, and we'll put it in here on this side. I was thinking of putting some angle iron or something in there, but I think this Schedule 40 pipe will do just as good a job. So what I'll do is I'll cut off 2 pieces that are 18, put them down in here, get them right out to the end on this side, and then we'll go ahead and we'll go around and we'll weld those in place as well. And potentially even run a couple beads and stitches along the bottom where it meets the plate. And that way we've got this thing completely shored up all 4 sides, so there shouldn't be much flex to it at all. So that's the stitch welding done on our bottom plate. We've done top and bottom. So now I'm going to go ahead off camera, do the other one, and then I'll bring you back and we'll look at putting our Schedule 40 support pieces on this side of our plates. So stitch welding is done on both of our, ooh, it's nice and warm, on both of our plates. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 18-inch lengths of this, I guess this is 1 1/4 Schedule 40, and get it put in on both of these plates for the extra support on the open end here. Let's cut it up. So one thing I want to do with this piece of Schedule 40 from across, I want to make sure it's all the way flush against the plate along the bottom, so I can stitch weld along here and on the other side as well. So currently you can see that the welds, the stitch welds that I put in, let me show you just the focus, are interfering with that pipe going all the way down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to notch the very corners of this piece of pipe. I'll do the same for the one that's going down here as well. Those welds are horrible. Wow. And then I should be able to get that pipe all the way down, get it welded in on either end, and then do a few stitch welds along the bottom. And then we should have all our final welds done. Went ahead and I got my edges ground / trimmed. Just to focus on this right here. The first one I did, I used the grinder, and the second one I just set this up in the vise and I cut it off with a cutting wheel, and went a lot quicker that way. Now that I've got these in place, I'll give them a few quick tacks, and then I'll go ahead and weld them in fully. So just ran into MIG wire, so I had to switch back over. I had a half roll of flux core left, so you can see the telltale signs of flux core with all the shit and stuff that's here on the welds. The welds are pretty good, but... So either way, I've got one more weld finishing with this side, a couple on this side, and we should be done with the welding on the frame pieces. So now we're at the point where all the frame final welds are done. With regard to from the top of the legs down, there's still going to be a couple posts we need to weld into the top part of the legs for bearings for under the surface or the upper the platform of the lift. But we've got our leg sets all welded in. We've got our posts welded in. Our wheels. Everything's good. When I was putting it back together, things were a little tight. But it wasn't anything to overcome. I just had to take a bit off the inside of the posts here for the bearing mounts. Either way, now if you're see, things are nice and solid now. So the last thing I need to do with regard to the frame, just take you out of the tripod here, disconnect the power cable. So on the bottom, the bearings are going to be held in tight, because you can see, actually you can't see from there, you can see how close the leg is to the bearing race. That bearing is not going to be able to come out of there no matter what. Same thing on this side. It's kind of hard to see this one, there, you see the post right there. But with regards to the outer bearings, you can see there's about an inch or so where this bearing can come out. So what I need to do, and we'll pick this up next time before we start getting the bag in, is I'm just going to cut another piece of Schedule 40 similar to this one. And what we can do with that is just have it on here, almost like a washer. I'm not even going to, weld it or try to screw it in with a set screw or anything. I'm just going to put it in there. So I'm going to clean up these welds a little bit so we can have that piece of Schedule 40 sit flush against here. And we'll have a Schedule 40 spacer right here. And a Schedule 40, you can see, so watch this, it's a bearing with no load on it. You'll see you can just slide back and forth. So with a Schedule 40 spacer right here, you won't have to worry about that bearing sliding. It'll be held in place at all times. So today we're ready to get our bag plumbed up and also installed in the lift frame. So I went ahead and I hit up Princess Auto and I picked up a bunch of stuff that I want to use. I'll quickly explain how I want to hook this up. I got a foot pedal here, has an inlet and an outlet. So air feed goes in, air comes out here, goes to the bag, and then there's an exhaust on the side. So these are 1/4 and 1/4 NPT, and this is 1/8 NPT. The model on this foot pedal, or the model block, air block that's in this, the valve I guess you want to call it, is an FV320. I'll put a picture of that on the screen from where I bought it on Amazon now, so you can see what it was, how much it cost, the name on it and stuff if you're looking to get something similar for yourself. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is we're going to come out of, air in to the P on the block, air out of the A on the block through 3/8 hose, through a T. On the T, I'm going to put this pressure gauge on the top of the T, and that's going to be stuck on the side of the lift somewhere, just so you can see how much pressure is from the system. And then from the exhaust, this is 1/8 inch NPT, so I need to use this 1/8 1/4 adapter screwed into here, and with that in there, I'll then be able to run my exhaust off of that, which is likely going to be just a simple air gun attachment from, or actually air gun attachment I got there. So let's get ready and put this together. Now we've got the situation where I've got air feed from my hose into the pedal, back out of the pedal. Still have the exhaust open, so I had to plug that if I want to have this work. So I'll plug that with my finger currently. I'll pump this up. So that's 50 PSI there on the valve. So in trying to put this 1/8 1/4 adapter in this exhaust port, I'm noticing that I'm running an interference on the frame of this pedal. So what I need to do, looks like I'm going to have to take the block out, ream this a bit. I'll just use one of my stepper bits. That way I can get this in there and screwed in. Okay, so now that the block is fitted back into the pedal and I can get my 1/4 inch fittings onto this exhaust, I'm going to go ahead and put this back together and we'll give it a quick test out. Now we can do a quick test. So currently this isn't installed permanently, so I didn't bother putting any Teflon tape on this end yet. In the interim, we've got pedal, receives air from my compressor. Now I'm going to turn the regulator down to my compressor because it's currently up around 120, and I'm going to set that down to right there. That's 90. Just to be on the safe side, I don't want to end up hitting this at 140 accidentally. So now, air comes in to the pedal, or to the valve, the FV320 valve, like I said, I explained it earlier. We've got pressure gauge here. Now this hose will break in eventually, but it's going to be nice and stiff for now. And then out through the pressure side into the bag. And then we've got a release over here that comes over to our release valve, air gun. So I'm going to go ahead and put 70 pounds in this just to see the bag come up the height, and we'll measure the height just in curiosity so we know exactly what the height is. So let me grab my measuring tape. Okay, so here we go. Currently almost all the way inflated, it's at about 10 psi. That's about 40 psi. There's a small leak here around my exhaust. So that's 50. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this down, see how tall it is. And that's a height of almost 11.5 inches, like 11.25. Now we want to let the pressure off. So you can see we're pretty much down to 0 psi. I don't know if you can see that or not. And the bag is coming down. Might be a bit slow coming down, but I don't mind it being slow coming down. Just be on the safe side when we're letting the bike down. So, disconnect that for now. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this exhaust side up a bit more, and then we'll go ahead and look at getting our plates drilled and set up for installing our bag. So you just watched me drill the holes in that plate, and like I mentioned before, a drill press would be really nice. I just finished getting off the phone with somebody. I'll be right back. It's going to be 10 seconds for you, an hour or so for me. A little surprise I want to share with you. So what I just went and picked up is this old drill press. I've been wanting a drill press for a while. As you see, I mentioned when I was working on this stuff in earlier videos. It's an older, I don't know if you'll see the name on it from that side. The brand is Canadian. See the focus there. Yeah, this thing is old. I have no idea what the model is. All I know is that it works, but the bearings in it make a bit of noise. So there's going to be a quick restoration of this. Maybe when I get the lift done, or maybe partway through working on the bike. But either way, let's get the other plate drilled out, and let's get this lift together with a bag in it. I want to see it going up and down on air. So it's putting things back together, getting ready to put the bag in. And I remembered I wanted to make those couple spacers, so I went ahead and made these spacers at schedule 40. So now you can see with that there, it'll keep the bearing in the race, and we'll slide in and end up coming out. Get one on that side, and one on this side. So I'm gonna put the top plate on, get the bag in, and we're gonna give this baby a test drive. So I got the bag in. I'm holding it up like this for now because I'm going to want to get myself a right angle quarter MPT fitting to go into the bottom of the bag. Because without it, the cable should have the air hose straight down, it kinks on the floor. But either way, I'm going to hook up some air here. So once again, we got feed to the bag. This is our exhaust. We got pressure from the hose here. That's currently set down to 85-90, so I'm going to hook this up to the pedal. So I'd say that was pretty cool for the first go. Looks like we're going to get a pretty good height of it. It's going to be higher than I thought it was going to be, which is really rad. When I measured it last time, it was 36, making up for a couple more. That's currently decking out at 39. That gives us a 40-inch deck height. I'm really pumped about that. That's cool. So let's try something for fun. Okay, I'm 215 pounds. The handy model of this is rated for 1200. Let's see how it does with me on it. Here we go. Cool. So I'm pretty happy with the way this worked out. I managed to go for a ride on it and it did exactly what I wanted it to do. So the last few things we're going to need to do now, I'm going to call it for this one. We want an elbow fitting for the bottom of the bag. We're going to want to then get our hands on a piece of plate for the top of this. And I'm thinking I might have to buy a sheet of diamond plate because I was going to go 24, but I might go a couple extra inches. So let's call it 28. So it'll give us 2 more inches either side. So I have diamond plate, then we'll look at bearings on this side which ride along on the underside of the surface of the platform, and then a safety mechanism on the underside of the platform that will have teeth that, like we'll say a piece of 3/4 bar or something will click in as the lift goes up. Then we'll have to manually open that up to release the lift back down. Either way, we're getting really close to having this done. Probably then take a look at the drill press quickly that we picked up, and then finally we'll get started on the old passport. Thanks for watching.